Hello everyone and welcome to the week 14 for our course Systems Integration and Architecture. This week it will focus on selecting commercial off-the-shelf products. So let's start with our discussion. Usually, vendors often blame for unsuccessful implementation of an ERP for systems integration. This lesson discusses how it is usually not the case and how, from the beginning, to best position of an organization to implement an ERP successfully. Once the decision or case has been made to replace the existing application systems, the initial step involves the purchase of an ERP system. The selection of a vendor that best meets the needs and long-term direction of the company is a critical first step in its successful implementation. For this lesson, here are the objectives. At the end of the lesson, you must be able to understand the initial steps in the process for the successful purchase and implementation of an ERP system for integration, and gain knowledge on how to properly implement ERP. In selecting a vendor, a well-understood selection process needs to be utilized. Depending on a given company's experience in purchasing an ERP system, that company may want to bring a specialized consulting firm to assist in the selection process. In any event, the steps involved in selecting a vendor generally be based on best fit of an ERP to business functions and the overall ERP vendor's product performance in the market. First step, vendor research and information gathering. The second step, high-level vendor demonstration and evaluation. For the third step, needs and requirements assessment using current legacy systems, business process reengineering analysis, or both. For the fourth step, development of requests for bid or proposal if needed or desired. Number 5, research request for bid to vendors. Number 6, analysis and selection, which has evaluation of bids, functional evaluation, technical evaluation, vendor detailed demonstration, contact references, and develop a total cost of ownership. And the last step, vendors negotiation, which has contract review and change, pricing software, maintenance and consulting support, and purchase system. Vendor research. The first step in selecting an ERP system is generally to research vendor ERP systems in the market to identify a short list of vendors who will help to shape business requirements. This process is especially helpful for companies moving from aging legacy systems and technology to current and state-of-the-art technologies. A state-of-the-art ERP purchase will likely mean the replacement of the current hardware and software infrastructure. Identifying and researching all aspects of a vendor package and the platform that the hardware and software runs on will actually assist companies in determining the total cost of ownership or TOC. So, suppose you are a business owner. The question is, what are your requirements for a vendor? What are the key considerations that you will be having when you choose a vendor? So think about it, and at the end of this discussion, I may be asking, what are your thoughts about this one? In general, identifying vendors today is not overly difficult. Using current web search engines is a good starting point. It also helps in determining what packages the competition uses. An exhaustive list of vendors, even if you do not research them completely, is important for a successful implementation. Another strategy to identify vendors is to ask department managers and subject matter experts if they know of vendors that should be considered. It will be said many times, the process is important. So including end users will actually help with change management issues later in the project. It also helps to gain and secure trust for later in the implementation. So here are the things to consider when researching vendors. First, other businesses using the vendor. Second, the vendor's financial position. The third consideration is the vendor's implementation philosophy and support issues. Fourth one, the hardware and software infrastructure used to support the ERP. Fifth, the vendor's direction and currency of software. Sixth, the vendor's release and upgrade strategies. Seventh, the vendor's user base involvement in defining future functional changes. And lastly, the vendor's development and maintenance resources. Some vendors or ERP vendor systems like SAP are designed for and can scale to a large number of users, whereas other systems like Great Plains are geared for a small number of users. Many ERP vendors have similarly geared their application for a specific industry. For example, PeopleSoft has historically focused on government and educational organizations, whereas SAP has focused on the manufacturing industry. The PeopleSoft from Oracle is also known for human resource or HR applications, whereas SAP is well known for production and supply chain management applications. In the previous slides or previous lessons, rather, we have encountered the differences between the major ERP vendors in the market, and we have gained insights about these differences. In the recent years, these large vendors have tried to diversify their systems by expanding their application modules through acquisition of other software companies. Oracle now owns the PeopleSoft ERP along with its own e-business suite. Nonetheless, they still focus on certain industries and are known for applications in certain functional areas of business. It is therefore important for business evaluating ERPs to pay close attention to these criteria before selecting the software. For the IT infrastructure criterion, the IT infrastructure criterion is important because a company not having the resources to invest in new infrastructure may want to acquire an ERP application that will work on an existing platform. Some ERP vendors have structured their applications to work on specific platforms with specific databases and third-party software. In that case, having a vendor install a sandbox application for demonstration purposes on the company's existing infrastructure can be very helpful. The resource question is very important, and it is one of the most important issues that has to be resolved before moving to the next phase of ERP implementation. That is, when organization resources will be needed to implement and support the project. Senior management must be involved in making these decisions. If they are not committed to the project for the long run, both in terms of resources and time commitment, the implementation is doomed for disaster. The majority of ERP vendor relationships with organizations are long-term. Vendors are constantly upgrading or releasing new applications requiring a business to remain close to what is happening with the system. This requires long-term resource commitment from the organization. Flash on the slide is the ERP system research table. You can see in there, on the left side are the items like user base, financial position, implementation issues and support, and hardware and software infrastructure fit and scalability. On the right side of the table, you will see the description for each of these activities. In continuation, there are also other items like vendor direction, currency of technology, release strategy, development and maintenance staff, and system update processes. You can read on the right side of the table the description for each. So this is the end of our lesson on selecting off-the-shelf products. I hope we learned something about this discussion. Take care everyone and God bless.